Hi everyone, in this lecture we are going to read JSON data. So first let's create a new notebook for us, new Python 3 notebook. And in here I'm just going to give it a title that is going to be 2.reading JSON data. Let's just save it. Now, before trying to open it in our notebook, let's just take a look at what it is, what is the kind of data that we are dealing with. So it is this collection master. Within the collections, we have the artworks. Within there, we have these files, these 6 folders. Within there, we have these files. Now, each of these is going to contain, each of these JSON files within these is going to contain one artwork. And Pandas doesn't have any way of recursively grabbing all the data and importing it to the notebook. So what we are going to have to do is clean up our data a little bit and then pass it to Pandas so you can import it. Pass it to Pandas in a format such as a dictionary or a list of tuples, so it is easier for Pandas to import it. Now, this is a major aspect of data science, data analysis with Pandas for data science, that you will almost never have like very clean data. You're going to have like data that you're going to have to clean up in pure Python and then do some data analysis or visualization on it. Of course, this is going to be very, very low level. So first I'm going to import JSON. Then I'm going to import Pandas as PD, and let's also import OS. First, I'm going to show you an example, a very simple example of a method called from records, how that method works. So let's say we have products, and this is a list of tuples. So I'm going to pass in a tuple here. The first tuple is going to be product 1, and it's going to also have a price of 15. I'm just going to copy this tuple. This is going to be the second tuple. It's going to have a price of 25, and this is going to be a product 2. Perfect. Now, let's convert it to a data frame. I'm going to say pd.dataframe, right? And I'm going to say from records, which records it is that we want to grab. It is from the product list. It is products. There we go. And now when I run this line, here it is. So what do we have here? We have a data frame that has 1, 2, 3 columns and 1, 2, 2 rows. All right. We can go ahead and further customize our data frame. Let's provide it with some column labels. I'm going to say pd.dataframe dot from records. This is just an introduction to the from records method. Let's pass in the products as a second argument. We're going to pass in columns. And what are going to be the names? Okay, so the first one, let's add it to product, the first column name, and the second one, let's add it as the price. And when we run that cell, we have the product as well as the price. Now that we are a little bit familiar with the from records, let's move on to our real world example. Again, keep this in mind that first I'm going to clean up our data, then I'm going to import it from our JSON, right? Give it to Pandas so it can import it. So I'm going to create keys to use. We have already taken a look at what this variable can hold. It is going to hold the name of the columns that we are going to need. So I'm going to pass an ID. I am not going to waste your time a lot. I'm just going to pass all of that right here. Now, let's actually take a look at our data. This is one JSON file. I'm just going to open it with VS Code. Let's see what we have within this JSON and what it is that we are actually trying to grab from here. Right, let's just wait for it. Come on, baby. Come on, buddy. There we go. So this is our JSON file. So you can see we have the acquisition year. We're going to grab the all artists. Then we are going to grab the title. Where is title? So let's say title. We're going to grab the title. we're going to grab the medium. Okay, so you can see that this is very messy data that we need to come up with a way to just make sure that it is structured and organized in our pandas script. We have our medium, then we are going to grab the acquisition year. Where is that acquisition year? Is it here? Acquisition year right here. We're also going to grab the height, width, as well as the units. So we have those here somewhere. So we have the width, we have the units, and we do have the height somewhere as well. So whereas here is the height. So these are the columns that we're going to extract from this data. So you can see that we have 99 items here, and then we have 100 items here. So for each artwork, we have one JSON file. So we need to come up with a recursive way with some kind of a script that is going to open all of these folders and then all of these subdirectories. So this is the folder. This is all of these subdirectories within that folder. Then we have all of these subdirectories within the previous folder. And then from there, open all the files. So we are working with three things: opening files, within subdirectories, and from there within the main root directory. So there are three things: main root directory, or the root directory, subdirectories, all of these subdirectories, and then all of these subfiles. Unfortunately, Pandas has no way of helping us in this manner, so we need to come up with a custom function. So I'm going to create a function, and I'm going to call it get record from file. This is going to handle one record. It's going to grab the file path as a parameter, whatever file path it is that we provided to, and it is going to have a keys to use our parameter as well. Just to know that we just wanted to make sure, we just want this function to be a little bit smart. So we just pass at the ID, the columns that we want, not all the columns that you just saw, just some of the columns. Now, let's process a single JSON file and return a tuple containing specific fields. So I'm going to say width. Within the width, we are going to say open. What is the file path? We have provided it as a parameter. That's why I'm just going to pass it there. And this width is going to have a variable, and I'm going to call it artwork file. In here, I'm going to create a content variable. So content, and I'm going to say JSON dot load all of your data into from which file. It is going to be the artwork file, artwork underscore file. Now, oops, that is not how it is typed. Let me just copy it from here. So it's going to load all of our data. From where? It's going to grab it from whatever path it is that we've provided to. It's going to grab all of that data recursively for us. Then we are going to create a record, which is going to be an empty list. And I'm going to say for field, this is going to be our loop variable, and keys to use. So what are the different fields that we have? For only those fields, we want to extract data from the JSON, from our JSON files. So for only these fields, we want to extract data, and we are not actually, we don't care about the other data. So then we are going to grab our record, and we are going to say append. What is it that we want to append to? The content. What is inside the content is going to be the field that this loop is going to iterate over. So each time the field is going to grab the ID, the next iteration is going to grab all the artists, then title, then medium, then acquisition year, height, width, and units. And then each time it grabs those, it's going to pass it to the content, which is going to load the data from the JSON, and then it's going to append it to this record. So all of our data is going to be within the record. And then we are going to grab our record, and we are going to convert it to a tuple. So record, there we go. So I'm just going to execute that file. Let's move on and let's create, now this function is going to clean our data for us. So let's create a function. I'm just going to call it sample JSON. dot join. Now let's pass in all of our files that we want. So our files, they are within the collection master. So I'm just going to copy. Now this is going to be the path. Keep that in mind. So they are within the collection master. The join function is going to join multiple paths together. So this is the root directory. Artworks is going to be the one of these subdirectories. A is going to be another subdirectory. And from there, O is going to be another. Let me just take a look at it. Artwork A, this is another subdirectory. And from there, we want to open a file. What is the file? It's A001-1035.json. All right, and now that we have our sample JSON file and everything is within the sample JSON, what it is that we want to do. So I want to pass this sample JSON, which is the join method, which has this join method, which grabs all of the subdirectories and the root directory, which it inherits it from the OS that we have it right here. I want to pass it to this function. So if I call this function, what is it going to require? It's going to require a file path and a keys to use. Keys to use is already declared right here. What is the file path? It's going to be the sample JSON file path. So I'm going to say, I'm going to store it within a sample record. This is, again, just a sample record that we are grabbing from there. Then, recursively, we are going to grab all the records as well for these columns, all the values for these columns for all of these 69,201 artworks. So let's call the function get record from file. This is the function. It requires two things. One is going to be the path, so I'm going to say sample JSON. This is the file path, and then we are going to pass in keys to use, which we have created right here above. Oops, just move forward. There we go. So let's save everything, and then let's take a look at our sample record. Let's run this. It says namer JSON sample JSON. We didn't define our sample JSON, did we? Why didn't we define that? Sample JSON.join. We should have defined it somewhere. Just take a look at this. All right, so I think I see what the problem is. That we have actually not declared this. It says namer, it's not defined. We have not defined it, so I'm just going to define that, and instead of just calling the JSON on the sample JSON variable, that is actually the incorrect way of doing it. That's why it doesn't work. I'm going to say os.path, and now if I run this, there we go. So we got the first record from there. Now let's take a look at this record, where this actually is. So if I open this up, which is going to open up in VS Code. Let's take, it's 1035, Robert Blake, a figure bowing before a seated old man. So what is the artist? It's Robert Blake. What is the title? A figure bowing before a seated old man. So it grabbed this one. Now this is only one record within one JSON file. So all of these JSON files, all of them, they contain one record per file. And we need to open all of them at the same time and extract all the records. And now you can see how difficult this task sounds, right? It is difficult for us to do. Now that we know how this actually works, let's collect more data by iterating over multiple files and generating data frames from the returned records. Now here is where things get interesting. So I'm going to say read artworks, plural, from multiple JSON files, from thousands of JSON files. And this is just going to ask for keys to use, just one parameter. This was another practice as well. This is the actual function that we are going to work with. Now we need to traverse the directories with JSON files for the first file in each directory, call the function for processing a single file, and then go to the next directory. So we have created that function that is going to process a single file. We just need to provide it in some way that's going to go folder by folder, directory by directory, and technically it has to walk through all of our directories and subdirectories and files. And we literally have a method called walk. It's a little bit advanced, but I'm going to try to break it down. So let's create a JSON root variable. So this is, this is our JSON root variable. This is going to be the root dictionary. So I'm just going to provide some space. This is our root, the root directory, not the root dictionary. So where is that? It's os.path.join. Where is all of our data? It's within the collection-master. From there, they are within the artworks folder, right? So let's take a look at it. So they're within the collection master, within the artworks folder. So now we want to traverse all of these subdirectories and files. I'm going to create an artwork empty list, and I'm just going to keep it right here. Now let's move on and let's actually iterate over that. Now the actual loop is not going to be that difficult, but I'm going to take some time to explain the walk method. So I'm going to say for root, this is going to grab the root directory. Now these three things are really important for the walk method. The first one is you need to iterate over the root. Then you need to provide the subdirectories, all of the subdirectories, using just an underscore. Sometimes you're going to see underscore dirs, or just sometimes just an underscore, but you need to provide it. The reason that I'm not providing dirs is that I do not actually want to iterate over those, but I do want to iterate over the root and all the files that I want. So I'm going to say files, comma files, and os.walk. So this method is very cool method. I'm going to pass in the JSON root that we have created. So what is this walk method going to do for us? The Python walk method generates the file names in a directory tree by walking the tree either top to bottom or bottom to top. os.walk, it returns a tuple. Within the tuple, we have root, we have dirs, and we have files, where the root is the root directory where we want to iterate over all the files. This is the root directory. The dirs, it prints out subdirectories from the root. So what are these subdirectories? Artworks, this is the root. All of these directories that you can see here, they are the subdirectories, right? That's what this underline is talking about. But the reason that I'm not providing dirs is because I'm not actually interested in these subdirectories. I'm just interested in the files. But then, because you're working with the walk, it is a necessity that you need to provide all three of them. Even though you just want to work with one or two of those, you need to provide all three of them. And the files, it is just going to print out all the files from the root and the subdirectories. Now, if you do not want to use one of these variables in your subsequent loop, it is customary, again, to call it just an underscore. Or you could just say underscore dirs, but you could just go ahead and not use it. That way, most IDEs will not complain that you have assigned a variable, but you're not using it. Sometimes VS Code says that, right? So what do we want to do? We are basically interested in the files. Now, whenever you say for files in os.walk, what does that actually mean? It means that the os.walk, that walk function, which comes from your operating system, is going to open every single directory here. It's first going to open this first it's going to open this collection master and take a look for files. There are no files, so it's going to open this artworks. Take a look at search for files. There are no files, so it's going to open up every single folder subdirectory. There are no files here, so it's going to just move on to the next directory. It's going to grab all the 99 items, then it's going to open up this one, grab all the 100 items. It's going to repeat this process for all of these artworks, for all of these. So you can see how efficient this walk function is. That's why I'm taking so much time talking about it. And when you say files, it's going to grab all the files. Even if there are 1 million subdirectories, and within each 1 million subdirectories, there are 10 billion subdirectories, it's going to walk all of them. It's going to take some time, but it's going to walk all of them, walk through all of them. So I'm going to say for file, every single file and files, what do I want to do? I want to grab that, I want to say if file dot, now keep in mind, we are working with JSON, so we need to make sure that if there are some other files like text files, like CSV files, we don't want to grab those. We just want to grab the files that end with JSON. So I'm going to say ends with literally JSON. So only with JSON files. If they are JSON files, then I'm going to grab the record, create a record variable, and I'm going to say get record from file. That is our singular method which we have created. It requires 2 arguments. The first argument is going to be a path. So I'm going to say os.path.join. What is the path? The path is going to be the root. And what is the file that we want to grab? It's going to be the file. So this is the first argument that we provide to here, which is the file path. What is the keys to use? Because we are way nested within this if statement, I'm just going to say keys to use. So whenever we call this read artworks from JSON function and we pass it an argument, that argument is going to come and take the place of this parameter, which is then going to be passed on right here. And then we want to grab the artworks that we have created, artworks, this empty list, and we want to pass all the records there. So I'm going to say artworks.append, pass all the records, just record. Now, I'm going to say, I'm going to use the break clause just to make sure that we traverse the first file in each directory. Right? What does that mean? It means that I want to traverse this one in this directory and then move on to this one in this directory. We're going to take a look at that. I'm going to say break. So let's get out of the if statement, the for loop, the second for loop, and now let's create our data frame. So I'm going to say data frame df is equal to pd dot data frame dot from records, right? You know this function, and this function is going to grab our artworks list and then the columns that it is going to use. So what are the columns? Columns are going to be keys to use. Again, where is this keys to use is going to come from? It's going to come from this parameter of this function. And the index is going to be the ID within that file. And then let's just return from here that df. All right, so we don't have any errors. That's a good thing. Let's actually instantiate our data frame. So we're going to say read artworks from JSON. Which function is this? This is this function. The only argument we need to pass is keys to use. Is going to be this one. So keys to use. And now let's take a look at our data frame. We do have an error, artworks. Where is it coming from? Break artworks. Did I misspell? Oh, artwork. There we go. So it is going to take some time again. That's why you can see this star. It means that it is processing that. And when there is a number, it means that the process has been done. So we have 738 rows in 7 columns. Let's actually take a look at these data. So we have the ID of 1035. So if I go to the first file, if I click on this, I don't even actually have to open that. I'm just going to make this a little bit smaller so we can see that 1035, the first file within that directory. Then we should have 2230 because we told it to just grab the first file in each directory. So in this directory, 002, we should have 6725 as the first file. There we go. And you could just go ahead and check it. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What is the fifth one? This is the fifth one. 7430. And I'm going to check from the last as well. So let's go here. Let's open that. So we have 123531. 123531. So what it did was, again, just to go over this one more time, it opened the collection master, our functions, then they went to artworks, then from there to then triple O, and it grabbed the first artwork, not the other ones, because there are 70,000. The first one, and then it went in here, grabbed the first one. It repeated the entire process for this folder, and then it went to the AR, repeated all of those for here, and so on and so forth until the T. And it stored all of them into this data frame. So this is called cleaning data before actually trying to process it. That's it for this lecture. See you in the next one.